Welcome to Matrix Talk. We haven't been back in a while, but here we are again at 1 o'clock on a Thursday of all things. And we're going to talk a little bit about burnout busting verbal Aikido. I can't remember what we were playing with that we came up with that title.
We were in a mastermind talking about that.
Oh, was that it? Okay.
A few weeks
and it is true. It is burnout busting.
Oh, definitely. Burnout busting, burnout prevention. We like busting better because busting things sounds more fun.
Have more fun to it, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing if anybody. Oh, somebody else showed up, Phil.
Okay, great.
All right, welcome. If you do come in, even if you come in later on the recording, go to the lower right, and there's a chat thing
Chat
there.
function.
And you can see where somebody earlier put one in, and then I put in greetings from Maine, and Phil has hello from Langhorne, PA. So if you can pop in where you're coming in from anytime, as I said, that works.
Yeah.
Even on the recording, that works just fine.
Yeah, we often people do that. They send us messages after the fact, which is cool. I go in and look at them once in a while.
Yeah. Other housekeeping things.
Oh, well.
That was one.
Yeah. Go to the top and follow us. That's another one.
That's a good thing to do. We got over 1,200 followers now.
We like followers,
which is cool. People have to what we do.
Don't forget that down the bottom there's a big long green.
Click that green button, and we're always running this deal where you can. Now you can just buy the courses. That's fine, but you can also get a really good deal if you want to get certified. And Matrix certification is cool. You do it. You practice doing the Matrix quite a few times, 30, 40, 50 times, get to where you're really savvy with it. And you come and meet with Phil and I, and we'll listen to you present it. And if you're looking good, which most people are, we'll certify you. You don't need to be certified to use the Matrix, not at all. But some people find it useful to have that certification. So. And I think that's it.
Yeah, we've covered the basics.
Burnout busting verbal Aikido.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so long ago that I don't want to make this complicated at all. Okay, that's not the point. And so here's how you do it. Okay, so in order to do verbal Aikido with the Matrix, you need to have the Matrix up, just like what Phil's holding up there. And that's why when Phil and I meet with one person, two people, 50, 100, don't matter, we put that up right away. We are not concerned with introducing ourselves. We're not concerned with telling jokes or anything else, really. It's strange, but we just learned that our life's easier, that is burnout busting, right?
Yes.
If we get that diagram up there just right away, okay?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that later on you can't come, talk about you and your credentials or whatever, that's fine. But we just get that up right away. And the way we do it, now the way we actually do it in a lot of situations is we already have it up on a board, a whiteboard or a flip chart or something.
Find it.
You're in an office, we just have one up in the office. Or you're going to have them out on your coffee table or something, whatever. But they're there, right? So it's there. And you just simply say, I work from a point of view. And it looks just like this. You point at it, hold it up, point it. And is it okay if I run through that point of view with you really quick. And I'm serious, 100% of all people.
Never had a no yet.
I haven't tried it with somebody floridly psychotic or
Yeah.
something in the moment. I probably wouldn't, but anybody, as long as they got their wits about them pretty well, they go, yeah, sure. It's like, great. So here it is. You see it, the senses at the top and the mind at the bottom, and content and relief, all that good stuff. But that's fine. But what we really want to start is down here in the lower right, and we answer this question: who's important to you? And for example, my wife is important to me. And so if we're filling it out, I would put my wife down there. So who might you put down there?
Hey, I had a doctor's visit today, so I'm going to say my doctor is important to me.
There you go. And now, if you would have noticed, you've actually started having a little conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And the conversation is about, well, who's important to us? And so I can say, well, and a lot of people bring in their pets. They're like, well, my dogs are important. Great. We're not very particular about who.
Nope.
You can say your bicycle was important, and we would write it right on down. No problem. Cool. All right. And so, and you do that, and if you need to go fast, get on by it and go to the next one. If you don't, you can hang around, talk a little bit about who's important, but you establish that. Then you say, okay, in this lower left quadrant down here that you see, that's where we put what we call yucky stuff, i.e., stuff that shows up inside of you that doesn't feel good. So an example is like fear. You're afraid. Fear has shown up inside of you. And that doesn't feel good. I'm not talking having fun on the roller coaster fear here. I'm talking fear. Yeah, that doesn't feel any good. So it's yucky, right? Pain's another one. Physical pain. For people, not many of us enjoy physical pain. So don't want to have that. So we and then you just go through what's your common yucky stuff. What shows up inside of you that's yucky? A lot of people will say, well, I get anxious a lot. And yeah, that's popular.
Yep.
A lot of people get anxious.
Sad.
A lot of people get sad, frustrated. And once again, we're not, except for giving them examples. Now notice over on the lower right, I gave the example of my wife. That's so the person can go, oh, I get what he's talking about. Okay. Over on the left, we give the example of fear. Like, oh, I get what he's talking about. Fear and pain. Oh, yeah. Then they'll tell you about the stuff, the yucky stuff that shows up inside of them. Cool. And you do that. And you go, okay. Now that we have that, we go to the upper part. And the upper part's stuff you can see and hear and taste and smell and touch, the senses up there. And so it's behaviors that we can see you doing. And so let's say, for example, fear. Let's say fear showed up inside of me. Well, you might see me running. And by the way I was running, you could tell I was running out of fear. Hey, there goes Kevin. He's booking it. Something has frightened him, right? Okay. What might you do for pain? And it doesn't have to be you, anybody. What somebody have to be. Now, if you'll notice, folks, I just did something. I took the pressure off of you having to answer for yourself. I made it so you can talk about somebody else. What do other people do?
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And people go. So we have pain, fear, pain, anxiety. What do people do for anxiety?
Oh. Mm-hmm. Anybody want to call? Huh. Anybody want to chat?
There's a couple of more people here.
Chat down here if you want. Someone might Smoke weed.
That's popular.
Someone was talking about it on a show I was watching today. He was talking to his the mother about the son, and he was saying, so and so is smoking on the weed again.
Oh boy. Oh, someone who isn't me. What? I don't know what that is. Someone who isn't me. I don't know what that is. Who knows? So,
Right, Jazz.
so now we have some examples. Oh, hi, Jasmine. Right. We have some examples of stuff that people do to get relief, and that's the whole point of these behaviors, is to get relief, and we all do it.
Yep.
I would say something to emphasize in this is we all do it. I mean, we eat when we're hungry.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
We walk away from lions and tigers and bears and oh my stuff. We do that, and just matter of fact it. So cool. That's the upper left quadrant. And finally, and Phil put in this nice swishy arrows there. And finally, we go over to the right and we talk about, well, what can we do to move toward, however you want to say it, who's important to us. Like for my wife, I just go talk to her. There we go.
Doc, I could actually text my doctor.
You can text. Yes. Oh, you can? You can text your doctor? Cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, he'll reply to me within 24 hours or so. But
one of those deals.
Get into a texting conversation.
Text for your dogs. You might go feed them or play with them. People will come up with examples of, and they will. And you say, great, now that we have that established, now what this ultimately is about is noticing all this stuff. That's really what it is. And so you can notice who's important to you, and you can notice your yucky stuff showing up, and you can notice yourself doing relief moves, and you can notice yourself doing stuff for contentment, to have relationships with who's important to you, and you notice it. And sometimes we'll say something like, do you think you'll have the opportunity to notice this stuff in the next week or so? What do you think? A lot of people will go, well, yeah. As a matter of fact, most people will say, well, yeah, I might have the opportunity to notice that. And notice we said opportunity. We didn't say you will notice or you have to notice or anything like that. You just might notice. Of course, that leaves open. Maybe you won't. And that's okay, too. Either way. In the end, it's noticing. And so you say, well, now we have it established. Phil and I have done that in 45 seconds, and we've done it in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation, what you're in, how quickly you want to establish it. But whether it's 45 seconds or 45 minutes, whatever, it's established.
Yep.
The matrix, those
up there,
those quadrants in particular, and sometimes like the senses and mind and content and relief, you'll bring those in. They're there, and what they are is essentially a place to put words. That's what it is. Okay. So let's back up a little bit and look at, like why is ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, why is this a big thing? Okay. Cut to the chase. It all has to do with the problems related to having language. Humans have this great double-edged sword, which is we have language and we go, aren't we cool? We have language. This is great. We can communicate across the ages, do all kinds of cool stuff with this language. Oh, and then we can turn it inward.
That's the best part.
and torture ourselves with
Hey,
it.
your tormentor rules.
And sometimes we can turn it on other people and torment other people with it too, and just do stuff with language. And so, what you're doing with ACT, and I know there's a whole lot more, these details to it, but the details are simply about how you mess around with language. You change people's relationship with language is what you're doing, okay? And this is how we go about doing it, okay? So, but we don't give that speech to anybody. I'm just telling you that because. We don't say that to anybody.
No.
That would be, I was talking with somebody, another person using the matrix and equestrian therapy stuff this morning. And so it would be like in going and telling a horse something like that. Horse doesn't have language. You can talk to a horse, but it's really, for the most part, it's not going to understand you. Well, believe you me, talking to other human beings about what they need to do is exactly the same as talking to a horse about what it needs to do. It's not going to work out. So here's how we do it. People are going to send words our direction. Here comes words. Notice, I'm just saying words, folks, just words. And they're coming in my direction. And I know this is a strange way to think about language, but it works for this purpose. We're going to worry about the content in a second, but first it's just words. Okay. And it's like, oh, you said those words. And they go, yep. You can even repeat them. You can say, you said these words. And they go, yep, I did. If you look at this diagram, remember in the 4 quadrants here, lower right, who's important, lower left is yucky stuff, upper left is relief behaviors, and upper right is approach behaviors. Those words that you just uttered, where would you put them up here? Notice I went silent. They will put them up there. They absolutely will. And as a matter of fact, you will too. Doesn't mean you have to open your mouth and say where you would put them, but you will. You will. And the word that we use is sort. Okay. So it's like, well, what's going on there? That's verbal Aikido. What I just did is verbal Aikido. I just took words that were coming at me. Notice I'm hitting my nose right here. They were coming right at me. And instead, I moved over and I said, where did they go? Into that diagram.
Shift.
And if you learn how to do that, your life has changed. Absolutely. I'm serious, folks. Your life has profoundly changed when you learn how to do that. Because now words don't have to directly impact you anymore. No words. If you get good enough at this, most of life you can do that with. And that doesn't mean you don't do things and you don't continue to do, relief moves and approach moves and all that. You still continue all that. But it just doesn't have, the words just don't have the gravitas.
You have to be on the full force of the words.
Yeah, they're just always deflected. They're always off a little bit. And
Read.
that turns out to be a really cool way of being. And now what you're doing is you're noticing the purpose of the words, the effect of the words. So the words hit you, stuff shows up inside of you, right? You get this desire to get relief from what showed up from the words, or you want to approach whatever showed up. You want more of what showed up with the words inside of you. And you notice that. And that's it. And so now, so you can do it in really crazy ways. Phil and I used to work with some troubled population.
Yes, that's a good word.
Troubled. Where they might tell you to F off, whatever reason. And now, if you don't have the matrix up and they tell you to F off, you got to take that full force.
That's an ouchie.
But if you got the matrix up, it's like, oh, where would you put that? Where would you put? You just told me to F off. Where would it go? What was the purpose? They'll go. Now you have them reflecting. You have yourself reflecting, and the words have been, and here comes the act word, diffused.
Yeah.
So the term that is used for this in acceptance and commitment training and therapy is diffusion. Okay. And
earlier on, we used to say obliterated. I like that better, obliterated.
Obliterated is good, but the technical term that you see in the ACT books is diffusion. But this is the way you do diffusion on the fly. Now, most people, they pick up an ACT book, they start reading about it, and they think, oh, I need to go teach people about diffusion. Okay? And do diffusion exercises and all that stuff.
Exercises.
Knock yourself out. Have a blast, but Phil and I don't do that anymore. We do this. That's all we do.
Hey, where does it go?
As a matter of fact, doing the matrix with somebody is diffusing. Say, what do you mean? Well, you're probably going to be talking about yucky stuff that you're fused with, or maybe even not yucky stuff that you're fused with, whatever. And you're going to be sorting it into the matrix, and that by its very nature is diffusing. You're stepping back and taking a look at all of this stuff. And in that stepping back process, it's diffusing. And you say, what do we do next? We do more of that.
Yep.
We do more noticing is what we do.
Here.
Phil and I long ago, we got free, and I understand if you're not free, but we got free of the having to really kowtow to all of that therapeutic hour business and all of that. And really the only thing we're working on is noticing. That's it. We'll tell you right now, that's all we work on is noticing. But as a matter of fact, the lady I was talking to earlier today that had starting the equestrian program, and she's a matrix user big time, and she was saying she'll say, I'll have somebody in and they'll say, okay, well, what's my homework? We'll go notice stuff. No, I really mean, what's my homework? Go notice stuff. That is the homework. Noticing is the homework. And you might say, well, why in the world is noticing it? Why is that? It's nonverbal. Maybe 2, it's nonverbal, and 3, it's nonverbal. It's nonverbal, okay? And if you're noticing, that means you're noticing what you're doing. You're noticing what other people are doing. You're noticing you do something and they do something in response to what you do. Maybe you notice that they do something and you do something in response to what they do. You're noticing all of this. And in that, I behave and I notice how they react to it. And they do things and I notice how I react to it. in that noticing, you're going to learn what works for the relationship. That's what you're doing. Works like a charm. Then you don't have to talk about it. You just notice what works. Notice I didn't say that you have to come up with a dissertation about what works. No, you just notice what works. That's it. So the most powerful thing that you can do is notice. Get your head out of the way. You're having troubles in life. I would dare say your head's in the way. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean like cancer or something like that. That's all bad stuff. It just is. But if it's not something like that, just your head showing up and mucking with you. Diffuse it. Sort things. Verbal Aikido yourself. You use words at yourself. Say, "Ooh, I noticed those words. Those words.
Where am I going?" Stuff. Yeah.
So this is, and it. Now I'll talk to that lady this morning, and you'll like this, Phil, because she used to work in the schools.
Awesome.
She quit.
Also awesome.
You know why she quit? That no matter how well she did the matrix, the school wasn't changing.
Yes.
And so
I think to notice, actually.
You know, why I bring that up is like, I'm not saying that this miracle of this verbal Aikido is going to make it so that you can live in a burnout situation like many schools are. They're still going to burn you out, no matter how much you verbal Aikido them, because they're big and they're big. Well, they're just big. They're big bureaucracies. They're not going to change.
Now they're command and control. This is not command and control.
This is not right, and so you will be way out of step with the hierarchy.
Well, and you'll be noticing that too.
Now maybe you need to make a living. Okay.
And you got to hang in there, bro. Right? Yep.
And do your best at doing verbal Aikido, but we're not trying to say it's going to fix a bad situation.
No, it's not what it's meant for.
No, it's not. No, it's not. At the end of the day, it's really just a great way of having a conversation with folks.
Yes.
It really is a nice way to have a conversation and to talk about things. And, you just do. But sometimes the solution will be to go someplace else. Phil did. He worked in a big bureaucracy.
Many years.
Kevin did. I worked in a big bureaucracy. You will fool yourself into thinking you're going to change them.
That would not be verbal Aikido.
Notice, when you say those words, I'm going to change this place.
Right.
Not what Phil just said. That's not verbal Aikido.
Dive it into your mind, folks.
That's bullshit yourself is what that is.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No. You're not going to change that. I mean, you'll be good in this world if you can change yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't worry about changing other people with that one. So, but with that, we're not saying that you're in some horrible situation and doing verbal Aikido is going to miraculously fix the situation. Going to make it a little better, a little more bearable? Oh, sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Will it fix the overall situation? Nah. If you're working in a big old bad bureaucracy that keeps slapping you upside the head, well, it's still going to keep slapping you upside the head. That's what it is. And maybe you look for an exit. You go be private practice or something. I don't know. Whatever. First, you got to make ends meet. So
you form your exit plan.
Yeah, some exit plan, some way of doing something. But doing it by having this on board and noticing who's important to you and noticing your yucky stuff and noticing your relief moves and noticing your approach moves, it gets a little easier. And that's what people tell us. So that's what we'll come back to.
Yeah.
What do people tell us with all of this? Wow, my life's a little better,
Doing better.
a little better. They usually haven't had an epiphany or anything.
No.
It's just going a little better. Most people like that a lot. Life's a little better. And
I'm
so,
a big fan of that myself.
right. So they'll go back to the conversation thing. So when Phil and I go into a room, some room where we need to do this stuff, okay, what most people do is the school way, which is command and control. I'm going to stand up here as the great expert and
And impart wisdom to you.
impart stuff onto you. And we walk in and don't do that. That's what. And here I'm going to go back to, we have a conversation with folks. You say, well, how do you do that? Well, we haul up this diagram and we say, who's important to you? I'll tell you who's important to me. And we start, and everybody joins in. We all have the conversation. We all just roll through it. And at the end of it, we're having a conversation. The way we usually do it then is if we have several people in the room, we have them pair up and show it to each other. Now, as they show it to each other, guess what? They're having conversations.
Conversation.
And by the way, you'll usually have to stop them.
Oh, yeah.
And these can be all strangers in a room, all strangers. And they will do this, start showing it to each other, and you'll literally have to stop them. Okay? So there may have been a bunch of introverts and whatever, all kinds of folks that they would say, I'll never have a conversation with somebody. And well, let's have a nice conversation. Why? Because there's no judgment. That's the biggie. If you'll notice in all of this, we're not judging anything. We're just conversing. This is my favorite way of getting relief. Oh, cool. This is my favorite way of approaching who's important to me. Oh, cool. Don't judge it. Just have a conversation about it. So in the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You're having a human conversation with folks instead of trying to command and control them.
Mm.
So we live in a world still where command and control is the king of things.
All the day.
Right. So this is opposite. This is weird. This is not the usual. Don't fool yourself. It's not. But it sure is fun to go have the conversation with
Oh,
folks.
my.
It's just a whole lot of fun. And the more you do it, the more relaxed you get. And life just works out a little better.
There's that better again.
But it's not perfect. By any stretch of the imagination, it's not. It's still life. It's still hard.
Stuff show up.
Stuff shows up. But you can certainly do it and feel better. And a large part is because you have that diffused relationship with your own language.
Mm.
Other people's language, right? That's it. So, in case you didn't know that, all of ACT is about diffusing language. That's what it's about. Diffusing language is giving you trouble and fusing more with what do they call values?
Yes.
So, more fusion with values, less fusion with all your
Yeah.
That's the biggie. So you're always running that process. Sorry, something caught my eye. You're always running that process of who's important to you, approach, here's your yucky stuff. Of course, you get relief, but are you spending too much time on the relief? A lot of people do. Maybe you need to spend more time over approach. That is the contentment side. Maybe. I don't know. Go notice and see if you do.
Yep.
Notice how quickly I'll back off. I will just well practiced. Don't give homework. Don't tell people what to do. I don't even tell people to notice. Like you might have the opportunity to notice. And this is always played that way, folks. That's the way, because it's the opposite of command and control. And in order to be the opposite of command and control, you've got to be the opposite of command and control. No judgment, no telling people what to do. You're showing people an interesting way of looking at things. And you can always stop and ask them, hey, where does this go? That stuff that you said, where does that go? Or that behavior you just did, where does it go up here?
Brings them right back.
Think it's over on the left side or over on the right side? What do you think? And that's it. That's what you're doing. People go, They look at themselves. And you're not trying to get anything in particular done.
No.
And I know it's strange. It's very strange. But no, you're not trying to get anything in particular done. And strangely enough, you end up getting something done.
I was just going to say, they'll do stuff anyhow.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So this is verbal. It turns out to be verbal Aikido for life. The way you live, the way you conduct yourself. And so how do Phil and I pull it off? For the one thing, folks, I watch almost no news whatsoever. I will fully admit. Why? Because so far, whenever I turn it on, they start sending a bunch of words at me. And I mean, they're throwing fastballs too.
Rapid fire. Machine gun style.
And if you practice this as much as I have, you notice that. You flip on the news and it's like
it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Right, and I can't even sort them.
No.
So I'm using the old style of turn it off.
Yeah. It's like a fire hose of words.
Yeah, this is too much. It's just and they're always like excited utterances, right?
Who are they?
Doom and gloom and like that. Well, you say, well, how do you find out about stuff? Strangely enough, I always do. So
yeah, just going about your normal everyday stuff.
I just go about my business and I find out. So, I don't know. I don't watch news. Like if there's some movie and I don't like the words coming at me and I don't really want to play with that, well, I turn it off. I don't. You say, well, Kevin, that's an avoidance move. Yeah. And I exquisitely noticed myself doing it.
Nice.
Once again, it was okay. But so that's one way of doing it is be careful of your inputs, because I don't care how good a verbal Aikido artist, master, whatever you want to call it, you are, you don't want to have to do it all the time.
Yeah, it'll wear you down.
That will in itself. So you go beyond the verbal Aikido and you make sure to not have to overuse it watching news.
Right.
And then you can only, when you do have to use it, then you're ready.
Yep.
So go forth, have fun, play with it. Just play. Just not. At the end of the day, folks, do a loop. Show a loop around the mate. The loop is who's important to you, yucky stuff, relief moves, contentment moves. That's a loop. Noticing. You want to finish. That's a loop. And then notice. You will you will get it. Absolutely, you will get it. And then if you really get good at that, then get certified. Like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
join us. We do
Glow.
we do masterminds and stuff. We're not going to do one tomorrow.
I won't be there tomorrow.
And I won't either. So we won't
Okay.
have one tomorrow. But usually on Fridays we have a mastermind. People drop by and shoot the
Check in.
breeze with us about whatever matrix projects they got going on. And there's a lot going on around the world. For a bunch of laid back folks like us, we got a lot going on. That's what I mean. It happens. It's weird, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, it is. Stuff just happens. Stuff comes to you. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Stuff more over time, things will come to you. You don't have to chase it after them as much.
You don't have to force them. You don't have to chase after them. Well, no, a lot of stuff shows up and we have fun with it. So click on the green button, get the courses. That's, by the way, that's how we afford to
Keeps this whole thing running here.
as people buying courses. And thus far, enough people have bought courses that works. But right now, now you can get continuing education credits, APA, American Psychological Association. So we're approved. Behind the scenes, we know how to do stuff.
Yeah.
But above all, go notice stuff. That's your biggie. And Phil's going to notice a snowstorm showing up.
Absolutely. There's one heading my way. Got
my.
my new shovels and my other equipment all ready to roll.
Well, I had mine out yesterday. Finally, at 6 inches of snow here, and I had my tractor and my snow blower going strong.
Nice.
It was nice.
It's a beautiful thing when that snow blower starts up, isn't it?
It's a very beautiful thing. It is. Okay, well we did good. We did our presentation. We're going to go forth and who knows what we'll do.
We'll do stuff.
We'll go do stuff. You all go do stuff. Have a blast. Bye bye now.